I'm going to call public hearing number 1 to order. City of Washington, July 27, 2020, 6:30 p.m., Common Council Chambers. This ordinance, 5-2020, the ordinance to rezone a certain real estate from R1 residential single family to R2 residential two family on the northeast corner of Eastside Park Road and CSX Railroad tracks. Okay, who would like to speak first on this hearing?
I'll speak.
Okay.
My name is Tim Cosby, and I live at 123 White Ridge. The back of my property would be right at the rezone area that we're speaking of. And I know all of you guys have heard most of the arguments, so I'm not going to beat a dead horse. But I do want to voice my opinion. I'm very strongly opposed, and I just wish that when you vote, vote as if you're in my shoes. I mean, would you want this done in your neighborhood? We moved to that house about 10 years ago with the intent that it was going to be our last move. We had, nice houses all around us, and now this is going to change things drastically. So that's all I have to say.
If we had comments back, are we allowed to?
No, we can't,
And Tim, you do know behind your house is going to be R1 still. You know that part. Your house is R1?
Yeah.
Okay. Those 12 lots behind your house will be R1. No, they're going to stay R1. They don't get changed. The only thing we're going to talk about changing is the frontage out by Eastside Park Road, which is R2, that they're proposing to get changed. Everything else will be R1. Anybody else stand up and give your name and address, please?
Yeah, well, let me just a quick question on that.
Okay.
At one of the earlier meetings, there was discussion about the normal standard R1 restrictions, and that some of those may be, made less or lessened. Is that still something that's being considered for those other projects?
Jonathan?
Yeah.
Well, I think I get to the point Tim was trying to make,
Okay.
with respect to what may happen with those other properties as well.
Okay, so with respect to the planning and the platting of that, the R2 rezone would be out by Eastside Park Road, okay, and they would plat it using R2 standards, keeping everything behind those other lots. That second phase would still be R1, you would just be able to use the R2 standards due to lot size and potential setback issues from the future road that would come up.
I think there was some discussion about they would need some variances.
Correct.
Even in the R1 area, which would have to be approved by the BZA.
Correct.
Okay.
So I'll follow it up then.
Okay.
So Mike Mitchell, what I'm gonna try to do, and I hope you guys bear with me, I've talked to a lot of you guys, and I think I'm gonna try, like Tim, not to belabor points, but John and Barb Helms wanted to be here tonight. They couldn't because of health reasons. John provided me some talking points that he was gonna use for this, and so if you bear with me, I'll try to put them into some kind of logical sequence and connect some dots. But so John's first point was that he was, he's passionate about that community and that area, and he made the point that many of the folks in the area, we went there because of the zoning and because of the covenants, the fairly restrictive covenants, and so his introduction was that he feels that that's one of the nicer subdivisions in Washington, and that he was asking for your help in maintaining both the integrity of the subdivision and equally the property and the values that are associated. So the second point he made, and I'll also, I'll admit I was pretty hard on the developer at one of the meetings earlier, and we understand that the developer has put up some very high quality R1 single-family dwellings. He's done a nice job of developing out the southern part of that subdivision. And so John was making the point that, you know, he's already proven the ability to do that and to sell the properties, so by connection, he was just going to the point that it then becomes a business decision where they're trying to make, you know, as much money as possible. And by doing that, you're squeezing down properties, putting more residents in less space, acreage, and that through that process, that he sees that as a devaluation of everybody else's property in the community. And he referenced, you know, yard sizes, no backyards, no front yards, side yards, tenants, that kind of thing. And so I looked at the paper that is the request for this meeting, and it shows 300 feet. And in that 300 feet, we're talking about 3 duplexes on each side. So basically 100 foot per duplex is what is the math that I'm using. So we're taking 3 duplexes with 100 feet for each. And so it kind of bears out what John's talking about in terms of how you're squeezing properties in pretty short order, close to each other. So that was his second point. And then he gets into, and I think we talked about this, David, on the phone, you know, when you rent and when you buy, and the attention that you provide to the property and also the neighbors, because you can pick up and leave at any time. And he had actually, in preparation for this, taken a drive through some areas in Washington just to assess what the properties look like, what, you know, versus, you know, what we have. And he came away with a couple of points that basically said, you know, normally they're structured, you know, it was not where you're taking duplexes, rental properties, and putting them into a nice R1 territory. It was normally looked like it had been planned, and so that it wasn't something that was planned R1 where you popped up, you know, rental properties into or duplexes into. It was vice versa. He also made a comment in there about, you know, the care of the property in a lot of cases. It's not in all cases. I rented before, but it is. It's like driving a car, you know, depending on how you take it. You rent a car and you own a car. So he was making that point as a difference, and he saw all those aspects driving to something that would be a lessened property value in our community. The last point that he was making, and this kind of goes back to the profit motives, and this drives to where this started a year plus ago with the initial request, you know, where it was, you know, for storage units to be rezoned for storage units. And I'll just read the quote was, "With such little regard for the integrity of our neighborhood, the residents of White Ridge respectfully request you deny this property from being rezoned to R2 and that it remains at R1. And I think, you know, I would just summarize it by saying, I know from talking to you guys that there is a desire for a second road, especially from safety perspectives, etc. And nobody's arguing that. We have argued tying that road to this particular rezone request, so that we ask that you don't do the wrong thing for the right reason. The wrong thing, my humble opinion, is approving this request for the right reason of getting a road. We'll get it somehow. We'll make that work, whether the city, the developer, and the community sit down and figure it out. But John respectfully, and I do as well, in presenting these requests that you guys deny this.
Eva Martin. Back in 2005 when we bought our land, we looked at the layout of White Ridge, and that's part of the original White Ridge, and we were under the impression that for one there would be a road, but the other is that he had a certain standard of homes, and well, we even have what's it called, that you have to do this, you have to do that, and yeah, covenant. And we all was, we definitely, back in 205, was under the impression that that was part of the White Ridge and that's what would happen. So that's our reasoning. Thank you.
Anybody else?
There may be some people outside.
Okay, all right.
I think they may be out.
And then, are they,
One place or the other.
then,
Do some of us need to leave when they come in?
yeah, I mean, we'll have to, ask to maybe stay in the fire department and stage in there, depending on how many. Go ahead and state your name and address. We'll have we've got a sheet that they, I don't know where that sign is.
It's right here.
Okay, sign that, please. I told Debbie to forward that. That came in. That's weird. That came in. The timing of it. Yeah, the timing of it was really funny. Did you want to speak on this behalf?
Yes, sir.
Okay, just come on up. You can walk up this way with us. State your name and address, please.
Can I take the mask off here, or should I?
Well, you probably should just leave it on public, can you? We're all kind of weird talking through it, but
Okay. Zipper, how many do you want?
let Doctor stand there and then we'll,
I live at 2404 White Ridge Lane. So, my concern, I guess, is a couple of different things. I have the privilege of living at the top of that hill, which is a blind hill going both ways. So, pretty much every week, backing out of my driveways in the winter, I'll always, people squealing on the brakes coming up over that hill. You just can't see.
yeah.
It's not that anybody's speeding necessarily, it's just a blind hill. And I've seen cars come up there swerving around pedestrians. We got kids on bikes. It's fantastic. It's kind of stuff you gotta have in the neighborhood. Nothing attracts kids like a steep hill. So there's a lot of people milling around walking dogs and stuff. So my main concern is the safety of that hill itself. And the only solution I see is potentially another access that cuts down the traffic. I don't think there's anything you can do with that road. It is what it is. But if you can at least cut down the traffic in half, I think from a safety standpoint, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm also concerned about the zoning, I'm concerned about the value of my home. That East Park Road is also not necessarily a great road. It's got a blind hill on it also. So traffic on that road itself could be problematic also. So what I guess irritates me the most is this was a situation that the builder created. There was no problem because there were no houses, right? So as we start building houses, every additional house made the safety a little bit worse. And I don't know the city's role in this, but obviously the city kind of stood by and let it happen. On the builder's side, I understand greed. I would also think an ethical builder would look at that situation and say, I need to provide safe access for the families that are living in these homes. But that didn't happen. In my opinion, he built them into a corner, and now he wants to negotiate for family safety for rezoning. To me, that's a little bit past unethical. I would call it immoral. To trade people's safety for a few extra bucks in your pocket. But I think that's what's been created in the situation we're in. So I would just ask, I know every city in this country has zoning. So it's kind of universally understood that there's a logic and a value to separating different types of council. Every city seems to understand that, and I would hope Washington would too. So, appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody else? Dr. Roach, you want to speak?
My name's Dan Brooks. I live at 2400 White Ridge Lane. I'm fairly new to the community when I hear some of the conversations of those that have been part of the conversations when they built down below the hill and so forth. I sit on several different committees that have had conversations. We all are well aware of the fact that Washington is desperately in need of more housing, and we need transitional housing as well. But one of the things I would just suggest is, as I've lived in various communities, I have seen quick action to put properties in places where you have established neighborhoods, and I've seen what the effect is. And obviously that hurts the value of the homes that are in some of those given areas. And there's no turning back in some of those cases. Once you make a decision, oftentimes you can't fix that. So that will be a neighborhood in transition for the remainder of the life of most of us that are in this room. So I certainly appreciate the dilemma that you have and the decision you need to make, but I would encourage you that zoning is an important factor of a community as we begin to plan forward. And Washington is at a unique place. We've stated that several times over the last few years. And I would just strongly encourage you to realize that we have an opportunity to do this right once and to provide the necessary housing. But I do think we need to take a step back and really think about the investment of the people that live at the bottom of the hill and so forth, and what do we want for Washington over the next several decades.
Okay. Anybody else?
There's some outside that just want to sign in. They don't really want to speak.
Okay, okay, all right. You want to speak? Come in, or have you signed in?
No.
Let's see. Okay, just come in, announce your name, tell us your address.
Tammy Clark, 125 White Ridge Court. And I'm just here to speak because I know y'all have heard it all, but this is about, including Ray, and all of us, this is about our properties and protecting our investments. And, it's probably the same reason Ray also has 10.5 acres on the other side of the tracks. He's not pushing to build these duplexes there because it would drop the value of that property since it's marked commercial now. And I went up and spoke to Honey Clymer at the mapping department, and she was kind of helping me out and stuff. And I found out a lot smaller than what I thought it was, what I was told it was. But here is, she said, this is no one's, not that this is here nor there. She said it's actually not R1. She said it is suburban residential. She said because no one, she said it would have to come through her to rezone it all, or to put it in the books. But anyway, this is White Ridge subdivision. This is how it was. This is all the land in question behind it. It's still, that's included in White Ridge subdivision. And I would love for the guidelines for Ray to build homes back there stay the same. Our investments would not go down and suffer. And, let's see. And the map that he presented doesn't show the correct build lines, the ones that we were served originally. And I think, isn't there 17 lots that he's wanting to build duplexes on?
No, no.
How many lots does anybody have that original map?
The original,
Just the ones by the road are the ones that,
he's trying to rezone.
the other part's gonna stay R1,
Yeah, but he's also asking for those lot sizes to be made smaller
adjusted.
and the setbacks to be only 10 feet instead
And
of
that's part of the
30.
R2, yes.
Yeah, so that all is gonna happen in this meeting, correct?
We're just voting on the rezone.
Okay, not the setbacks.
That goes with the rezone.
Yeah, there's been no plat approved yet.
Right.
There's been no variances approved yet. Those
Right.
all have to go through the normal procedures.
Yeah,
This is just the zoning. It's all we're
yes,
discussing.
just the zoning part of it.
Okay, 'cause I was gonna show, I know that, you know, it's law, you don't have to show what you're going to build until all this, the zoning is first, but he's building duplexes in Montgomery, and, they're really, really close. And this is what's gonna go in our backyards. And also, there's the fear that we all discovered of, well, it's a reality, that when if he builds these duplexes, then he can go present it, number one, he can go present it to the mapping department when he decides what he's gonna build and call it a whole different subdivision. And that's how if there's, I seen the original map and there's like 17 lots, so if he puts 35 residents and 17 buildings, he's still under having to put a road in. And, you know, he can slide through that loophole. What else was I gonna say? I don't know, it's just, oh, the other thing is the duplexes can, and the other homes on the smaller lots that he builds, which I imagine they're all gonna be duplexes. And he's, those can go to subsidized housing. And the zoning things were created to protect, you know, residents, their safety, and their property values, and to have ease of access. Oh, I wanted to show you guys too, the road. I don't know if, I have a picture of that. Have you guys seen how it's falling through?
Which, the main road?
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, then
Yeah,
it.
that's another issue, yes.
It's just, bottom line, there's other land, other places that those duplexes, rental properties can be built on. And Washington needs low income, they need rental, they need nice homes, they need it all. So, but there's other land available, and it's still under the White Ridge subdivision, so I would like to see it be made to, whatever he builds back there has to stay within those guidelines. Because it is gonna affect us big time. But that's all, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, see if there's anybody else that wants to speak. That that clipboard could be out, that could, yeah, wherever that clipboard's at. That's the one they really need signed.
Dave, you know who I am, I'm Bill Joyce, me and my wife, we live at 2407, we're just opposed to it, we don't need to say everything everybody else has said.
Okay. That clipboard where that's at, just sign that for the public hearing side of it.
Beth, you want to sign all three of them?
Pardon? Yes,
Sign all
yes,
three of them.
yes, If they're gonna stay for the whole meeting.
If they're gonna
yes, please.
stay, if they're just gonna stay for this hearing and leave, they just have to sign 2 of them. Okay, thanks, Bill. Okay. Was there anybody else who wanted to speak on this?
I'll wait till last, but maybe kind of set up the arguments.
Okay, I think you might be getting close. Okay, just, if nobody wants to speak, they can sign that while we're finishing up here. Okay. Jeff, I guess the floor is yours if you like.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mitchell, through
Address, I think you know where.
Sure. Jeff Norton, 2415 White Ridge Lane.
Thank you.
Washington, Indiana.
Thank you.
I've been at that property since 2007, when I moved in there. I've been there going on 14 years. There's Mr. Mitchell said to Mr. Helms, we're trying to separate these issues out between the roadway and the rezoning issues. We want to unlink those if at all possible. It appears that the ordinance is being presented to the council as a compromise position. You know, get the road in there, we'll give you the zoning. Maybe it's a good deal for the city, but I don't think it's a good deal for the residents out there who bought their properties. And this is an issue that Ms. Clark brought up about the zoning of that particular piece of property over there. And Tim, was that ever rezoned, to your knowledge? Was that?
I don't know.
The reason I speak to that, I have a copy of the development plats that were filed and approved by the Section A and Sections B and C. The first one was approved in 2005. I'll be happy to share this with the council. The other one was in 2007. The first one was majority of the lots, and there's a future development on there. The plat itself clearly shows that property across there is zoned S1. Now, whether it was legally changed or not, I know before this meeting. If it wasn't, then the council cannot proceed on this because you're trying to change zoning that doesn't exist to something else. So that's a point of order that needs to be clarified. If it is S1, then everything you've done to this point is not legal, you know, with respect to.
Jonathan, you know anything?
No, it's the first I've heard of being S1.
And it clearly shows. I'll pass this around, you guys can take a minute.
Yep.
The other thing, if you look at those things, there's notations on there for future development. When you come down, you got a dead-end road there. It's been that way for at least 13 years, or close to 13 years, which is a dead-end road. There's an easement for a cul-de-sac there, which has never been developed. It's on the first plat and on the second plat. One of the plats shows future development going up north through there for a street through there. I think somewhere a plan was filed for development of the street for Eastside Park Road back through there. Also note, the total subdivision now consists of over 50 homes. It wasn't that long ago, this council changed the ordinance, so if there's going to be more than 25 homes in a subdivision, you have to have 2 access routes. Mr. Zipperly pointed that out. Since I lived there was one occasion we couldn't get out. Again, separate issue, but it speaks to the whole thing. So we need to take that into consideration. In hindsight, it's always 20/20. It'd have been better if the city, when that other part was developed, to make that a condition, put that road in there. Because now we have a situation not that long ago, an ambulance came up there, had to back out because they weren't familiar with that. Wasn't even a cul-de-sac to turn around in. Mayor, you think you, being the former fire chief, you've expressed concern about emergency vehicles getting in and out of there. Again, separate issue, but I think it's important. If you look at the whole entire context of this thing. So there's not been any development on that road for at least 13 years. Not even a cul-de-sac, it just sat there. If you were to speak to the city engineer, Mr. Barnett, he's concerned about the road that was put in there. That's created its own issues. Mr. Lonkers had to put up barriers, keep people going through there. It doesn't meet specifications.
No.
Anyway. But either it's R1 or S1, I think that's been called into question.
What is it on the map there, Don? Can you see?
Excuse me.
It says single-family residence, is all it says.
Yeah, I don't know what the procedure of that was changed at some point.
Is that what S1 means?
Oh, that's single-family residence.
Is that what S1 means, or is it?
It's suburban.
Suburban.
Correct, yes. Suburban residential is essentially one step higher than an R1.
Basically what?
It's a little bit bigger lots, homes are a little bit bigger. Streets are a little bit wider, things such as that. Standard is just a little bit more than what the R1 standard would be.
According to that map there, is just a small segment of that, is it, or is it all that across there?
It doesn't go all the way across, it just shows right there.
That
where
corner?
the subdivision ended. It shows S1 there.
Okay.
Again,
That's first we brought.
Just a sidelight to let you know what's going on, what has happened out there. When they started with phase 3 of White Ridge,
they came to the zoning board. And this was 10, 15 years ago. I'm not sure exactly what the time frame was. But they requested a variance from the S1 1 acre lot down to a 10,000 square foot lot. So those properties that were built in that newer section, the south end of White Ridge, were built on basically the lower 10,000 square foot lot section variance that they were given at that point in time, rather than the 1 acre lot that the rest of White Ridge was built on. So there is some difference in there. It was not rezoned, but the variance was granted on the lot side.
There's an advertisement showing on there also. Again, I think part of that got annexed into the city too, if I'm not mistaken, because I know the neighbors to the south of me, my back property line was in city limits, and then to the south that got annexed in. Maybe it changed then, I don't know.
Yeah, it's annexed in.
And for example, the S1, you just gotta go up to the north there, and I think it's, what's that drive up there, Pinkishaw or?
Yeah, Pinkishaw way up there. That's the farthest,
No,
that's farthest north, yes.
Right. There's that up there. Again, we don't muddy the waters, but I think we need to know where we're coming from. And Mr. Mitchell mentioned, restrictive zoning and covenants, which protects our property, property values out there typically around 200,000, 300,000 range. Certainly want to, maintain that. And our zoning code itself in chapter 155, 155.003 says where it identifies the core tenant, encourage the most appropriate use of land if you plan for a logical and orderly growth pattern in Washington. So R1, S1, even S1 even goes to a higher standard than R1, as Mr. Casper stated. Preserving property values is another tenet within that. And I think logic would dictate if you put potentially rental properties in there, it will decrease the value. And looking at it as a whole, I think there was some plans on Mr. Lonicker's part to develop all that. Because you can look on things. Again, things change, time change, economy changes. We certainly want to take that into consideration too. But as Mr. Mitchell said, there was not, request to put storage units in there, originally going where I think there were some triplex apartments going to an R3 zoning. Again, doing the whole thing R2. Now we've narrowed it down right there in front of the road. So I don't know we're really gaining anything there. The other thing I would note, that this is a no recommendation because it's split equally from the planning commission. There were 10 members that night, went 5 and 5, so clearly there's no mandate on behalf of the planning commission to change the zoning on this. And if you look at the map, there's an argument to be made, someone would make the argument, there's R2 across the railroad tracks. Let's look at the physical lay of that out there. If you go north of the railroad tracks and east of the park, that is all R1, all the way up through there, to the best of my knowledge. It's all blue there. If you go directly south of the railroad tracks, that's R1 there. The R2 consists of some I don't know what the housing situation is, but there's some R2 in there, some duplex type things. There's also some R1s in there. There's one that faces there on the road, there's a new duplex built there on the road, and there's another single-family residence back there. So we're trying to move that to the north, essentially encroach into the R1 area over there, where everything else is R1, all up through there. And just to the south, I can't remember that subdivision, there's a subdivision there. And that's all been developed, almost all of it is subdivisions. Almost all of it is subdivisions up through there that are under R1 restrictions. So again, trying to maintain what we got, trying to keep it essentially the character. I hate to use the word spot zoning, but it comes pretty close to that. That's something that's not favored in the law, where you just pick out one spot and then stick it in the middle of another zoning classification. Not clearly spot zoning, but it comes pretty close down the road. Plus, you're taking that, if there's a road going to be built through, you're going to have to drive through duplexes to get back to single-family residences. And in S1, we maybe didn't have to do something totally different with respect to this. So, like to maintain the character of the neighborhood, property values, keep it consistent with what we have out there. You can always go back and you buy a piece of property, and if you buy it on contingent, you buy it R1, you might as well plan on it being R1 for the future. And that's why I advise my client, because there's no guarantee that's ever going to be changed. So he went in with eyes wide open. Or S1 in this case is what all the documents are showing until we figure out something different that's happened there. So, again, I think I speak for the neighborhood. I strongly oppose any rezoning of that, and maintain this current zoning at R1 or S1, whatever that may be. I think it's been called into question, so we get a clarification. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Just one more thing, on his advertisements in the paper, he himself has S1 there.
Okay. If it is, if we don't really know.
Well, I mean, that'd be up to Tim,
Yeah.
but I'm just wondering if we go to that ordinance, if we, you can vote on it, contingent if it's that way, or you can not.
Is that map the map that's in the ordinance?
Yeah. I believe it is, yeah.
So that map is it showing our
It just says single family.
single family? So,
The basis for the S1 was for areas that was outside the city, so they would have big enough property to put in a septic system.
right.
As those areas were, and that's in the
Track
city.
entry zone right there is R1. This here doesn't have any color, that's his other property, which is probably S1.
So that's the first time it's been brought up.
Yeah, this first we knew of it, yes.
And I just wanted to add, I mean, these were, the first one here signed in '05, second one signed in '07. And it does show that the S1 is on the future plat. We're still talking about ground that is yet to be platted. The S1 was probably put on when it wasn't part of the city, thus it was part of the county. And thus, based on that map, is the white circle that David brought up. You know, so it's not essentially pertinent to the rezone spot that we're discussing at this point, as it's not, you know, on these two from '05 and '07.
Okay. Okay, anybody else got anything to say on this? Okay. Hearing none, seeing none.
I was just questioning, because it's showing it light blue along the road, not.
So along the road,
David, that's
still blue.
That's R1. It's horizontal, or vertical stripes,
Okay,
right?
and then the white area is,
It's not in the legend at all, so I assume that's probably
Okay.
something else. And that would be his other property that he has yet to develop in there.
typically on the history of maps that I've been researching for this case, that anything that doesn't have a shading is just considered undeveloped land. There's no zone given to it until it's either
Platted.
accepted into the city or a zone is applied to it.
Okay. Dennis?
Mayor, my name's Dennis Allen, Landmark Surveying. I can say that we maintained the maps for the city for a number of years, and then under, when Lindenauer was in there, they took those maps over. And I'm thinking that was maybe around that 2007 time. So if that has landmark on it, it would be an old map. And I know that what we did is they had an old map, we recreated it in the computer, and then as rezonings and things would happen, we would update that map. And so the areas that are left white did not have a zoning classification under that old map, and a new classification was never provided, and so we left them blank.
Okay.
And we have that same map right there on our office wall that was created in 2007.
Okay. All right. Anybody else got anything to say on this issue? If not, I'm going to close this public hearing at 7:11. Okay. And then we're going to open public hearing number 2, City of Washington, July 27th, Common Council Chambers. Application for COVID-19 Response Program grant from the Office of Community Rural Affairs, Community Development Block Grant. We have Michelle Carrico here to talk about this hearing.
Thanks, Mayor. As the Mayor stated, we're here for the COVID-19 public hearing. I work with SIDC, the Southern Indiana Development Commission, and we are assisting the city with applying for grant funding. Can everybody hear me okay? Because I know I do talk. And so we're doing the required public hearing tonight. The application is due this Friday. I do need to state a few things. It is July 27th, 2020. It's approximately 7:11 p.m. and we're here at the Washington Mayor's Office, Council Chambers. The meeting was advertised in compliance with Indiana Code IC 5-3-1. The meeting was advertised in the Washington Times Herald on July the 11th, 2020. I have a sign-in sheet that I also need to pass around for the public hearing. I'll start it here in the back if that's okay, and we'll work our way up. I do have separate pens if somebody wants to use a pen and keep it for themselves. That would be wonderful. The purpose of the meeting is to provide citizens the opportunity to express their views on community development and housing needs, past community development and housing activities in the proposed project, which consists of obtaining grant funds for economic support, job retainment, and the response to the COVID-19 emergency on businesses throughout the city of Washington. Public input will continue to be sought in regards to this grant program. Collaboration with non-municipal partners has been and continues to be a priority for this program, as collaboration among all stakeholders within the city and county is essential to the success of this program. The estimated total project cost is $256,250. The grant award being requested to be $250,000, and the local match, $6,250, would come from the city edit funds and/or the Davies County Economic Development Corporation funds. The estimated costs include assistance to the businesses suffering from the economic impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, and then of course administration fees. No displacement will occur as a result of the project. At this time, I will state that I know Davis County did receive these funds. This is phase 2 and phase 1. The county did receive some of these funds. It's my understanding that most of the businesses who have applied are actually probably within the city of Washington.
Yeah, I would say so. Just because it's the largest municipality and this is the economic hub of Davies County, yes, the vast majority of the businesses that applied to the first round were Washington businesses.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you would like to state right now during the public hearing in regards to the program, or maybe some pros to it or cons to it too, I guess?
The first round has been great. We were awarded $160,000 to the county, and initially up to $5,000 was made available to each of the businesses, well, every business in Davies County under 30 employees, targeting those small businesses that have been impacted most by COVID-19. And the response has been pretty great. We've had over 25 applicants in a very short time frame. So this additional opportunity came up with the Office of Community and Rural Affairs and thought it was a good opportunity to go for. So.
Thanks, Brian. We'll put in the application this Friday. I believe awards are anticipated for sometime in August, so it is a fairly quick turnaround on these awards. It is going to be more competitive, I believe this time. There's more scoring criteria to it. Where the last time was more first come, first served.
Right.
So there is a little bit more narrative and being more precise to this application than the last. But we will do our best and keep our fingers crossed and maybe be able to provide a little bit more assistance to the local businesses.
And like I say, Bryant called me. The county's doing a similar thing. They have done it, but they're going to also do another similar thing. And Bryant brought it to my attention. We talked. The only reason I let the county go the first time around because I feel like, well, Davis County is, the city of Washington. I mean, it is also. So he thought it was a good idea to apply for this grant. He asked me what I thought. I thought it was a good thing for the citizens and the business people of Washington to do this. We went for the full amount of $250, hoping that, we get it and we can help the business people out in the city of Washington out during this crisis. We don't know how long this is going to go. This could go on for months and months and months. So, Bryant and myself talked. It will come out edit fund if it's approved. Also, Bryant has, I think Economic Development has helped the county, so that we might get some assistance there. If not, I still think it's a good program for the city of Washington. When there's no guarantees we're going to get it. It's very competitive, like Michelle said, and I thought it's worth a try and see if we can possibly create some help and relief for the business people.
On the back end, who makes the decisions on the screening of the people that apply for it?
That's a great question. So with the county program and the way that we launched that as part of the phase one of Oprah's COVID-19 response program, we established a committee, and we called it the Davies County Small Business Relief Program. Very creative with the name there. And we established a committee consisting of a commissioner, a councilman, a representative from the Economic Development Corporation, a representative from the Chamber of Commerce, and then a resident here just in Davies County with some financial background. So that group came together and we reviewed all of the applications that came in, made sure they were consistent with the guidelines established by Okra, and we worked with SIDC all along the way to make sure we were meeting those parameters. So for the city's program, if we are awarded, we would certainly work with Mayor Rhodes and I would assume pull together a similar process for the city.
Yeah.
But that's obviously entirely your decision.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I say, it would consist of basically the same thing, but we'd have someone from this council that would sit on this committee and review the applications along with myself and, the same structure, Bryant, and we'll have a citizen, just same structure.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan to me.
Sure does.
Yeah, it's just an opportunity. I don't know if it'll happen, but it's an opportunity just to help out and see. I thought it's better than not trying at all.
Yeah, it's been a great program. It's been received well throughout the state. And if we are, we'll partner with the mayor, you all, to assemble a program that best fits your needs, especially because it is a larger sum of money if awarded the full $250,000.
Yeah.
So, we'll see where it goes.
He's got, and funny thing about it, I've not got the first call for assistance, and I was presumed they would reach out to the mayor's office, but Brian's got calls on this, and that's fine. And we talked to Joe Morris with the chamber, and we're like I say, we all want to work together for, the city and in the county. Okay. Anybody else got any questions for Michelle or anything? Okay. Okay, we'll close this public hearing. Number 2, thank you. Okay. All right, we're gonna. You ready?
Is that signed in sheet for that one?
Yeah, just pass those around and we'll get those.
Would like to sign that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna call Common Council meeting, the City of Washington, July 27, 2020, to order. Can we have a moment of silence for the veterans and also COVID-19 victims that we've had? Thank you. Can we have pledge of allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, may we have a roll call, please?
Councilman Lunsford.
Here.
Councilman Brown.
Here.
Councilman Grass.
Here.
Councilman Campton.
Here.
Councilman Emmons.
Here.
Councilman Dahl.
Here.
Councilman Showalter.
Here.
Okay, thank you. All present. The approval of the July 13, 2020 regular meetings are in front of you. Do you have any questions on these minutes?
I move they be approved.
Second.
Councilman Gress makes the motion, Councilman Dahl seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, abstained, Doug. Opposed, no opposed, thank you. Same thing with the presentation of claims is in front of you. Anybody have any questions on these claims that's presented?
I make the motion that they be
Forward.
forwarded to.
Councilman Emmons makes a motion to forward them to the Board of Public Works.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Lunsford seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, any comments by the member of the public other than what's on the agenda? We do have, hearing none, we do have a brief presentation from Bryant Niehoff, Davis County Economic Development. Right?
Yes, good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all, although I can't see your faces entirely. I am here to just continue the conversation about the Commons project in downtown Washington. And it's been a little while since we last talked about it, since my initial presentation, I believe at the beginning of June. And wanted to reconvene that, see if you had any conversations as the time has passed, and provide you with a bit of an update of where we are at this point. We have been continuing to have conversations with funding partners, the county included. Those conversations are continuing. We are continuing to talk with ROI, who has agreed to award us $200,000 towards the project as part of the Ready Communities program. ROI is the Regional Opportunities Initiative. We're one of 11 counties in the Indiana Uplands, which is the ROI region. This is a city project in downtown Washington. You all know it. I'm not going to go through it again unless you would like me to. But really here because we are closing in on the end of summer with August approaching, and really need to get moving on the project if it is something that you as a council feel does have merit. And with that, we are looking for a commitment of funds over time towards the project that would result in a contract between the Davies County Economic Development Foundation and the City of Washington. The Economic Development Foundation would be the borrower and would hopefully work with a local financial institution here in town to borrow the funds to build the project. We have obtained site control over the Hayes Automotive Building to the south, and we are in negotiations with surrounding property owners about the project as well. So at least at this point, we do have those two properties, the J. Myers parking lot certainly, which is under the foundation's control, and most recently the Hayes Automotive property. So I believe everyone except for maybe Mr. Campton were here, the last presentation. Were you? No, you were here. That's
No.
right. Darren, that's right, you were on the phone. Yes, yes, that is right. So, any questions for me? Any thoughts, comments about the project?
you know, I've talked about it real briefly, if I may. If I talked about this project, Mayor Wellman and Brian got together. Mayor Wellman went to ROI and made a presentation on this Davis County's behalf, the city of Washington's behalf. And when they got and then they end up getting the money. Mayor Wellman verbally offered possibility of merging with economic development on this project, and the county has asked to do the same. And he's going to go to county council and to make this same sales pitch to him. It's a great opportunity for downtown Washington, I think. In the meantime, like I say, it's the J. Myers parking lot, the Napa lot. They're trying to work out details of buying the old laundromat and buying that piece of property too. It's not been worked out yet. It's not really right now part of the project because we didn't know if we could get this done. But that's a potential, whether it be a phase 2 or how that'll be if that happens. But this initial project, we thought it was well worth looking at. And when I've worked with Bryant on a lot of details through the developer, future possible developer, and you know, using that, we do have a layout. Bryant had came up with the project layout and the way it possibly could look, and a price. And the developer thinks we could do it for that amount of money, which would be 1.6. So. I wanted to bring it from the council, get your thoughts, and see if you think it's worth potential. Now, if this thing don't go through, you know, if it don't happen, then, you know, it don't happen, and the city's not liable for anything. But I told him the only way the city could do this would be yearly payments for 4 years. And the county, I think, is going to possibly do the same thing. And they got other developers or other business people that, like the Knights of Columbus, is interested in it, given to this project, along with the economic development to have their stake in it too. That's all I got to say.
So the way it would work though is like we would say we were going to put X amount of money and it would never go over that. And if you don't get the other investors, then it's done.
Yeah, I mean, so we would have to structure the agreement to where, yes, if the project doesn't move forward, you don't pay a dime, right? So, but, you know, I would ask, it is a construction project, right? I mean, costs, right now, we have not commissioned any engineering. We haven't commissioned conceptual design, aside from just the
so no soft costs were entered into this?
Soft costs were entered into that. And the mayor and I have a proposal on both of our desks from a firm, Taylor Seeger Williams Design Group. They are the group that designed the project down at Huntingburg Market Street Park, and in Corda, their Bicentennial Park, which are two very similar projects that we are borrowing concepts for this project. So, we haven't commissioned that without knowing whether this project is going to have the support to actually be built or not. So, and to your point, Doug, it is a construction project, so I would ask for a commitment right now, but some flexibility in the agreement to that if once we do have final engineering estimates on what the project would cost, if the numbers don't work out, if it does exceed the funding streams or the revenue streams that we have at that point, that we could come back and have a conversation about, you know, if additional funding that might be needed to complete the project, if that makes sense.
Then the other question is what I brought up last time also, is ownership of this.
Yes.
Now that the county's involved, if they are, will it be the cities, or is this something to still be worked? Because before we vote on it, I kind of need to know that.
Of course you do.
And even the maintenance on it will then, if it's ours, that'll be the city's responsibility also.
Sure.
Is this correct?
Yes, so from my perspective, and certainly this is all your decision, but this is going to be a city park when designed. The programming of the space is to create a central gathering space in downtown Washington where events such as the treasure hunt, such as the Celebrate Washington Fest, the wine and burger fest, the farm to table dinner, all of it will have a single place to congregate, and one that we can all be proud of as a central gathering space for Washington, akin to the Riverfront Pavilion and Vincennes, other projects. With that being said, it ultimately would be a city park, and I think from my organization's perspective, and from our other funding partners, I do want to clarify, we are in conversations with the county, right? There's no decision on that yet, so I do want to clarify that.
Yeah.
But in that case, ultimately, I think most do feel that it makes sense for it to be a city park, city-owned and city-maintained. And with the maintenance piece, I know that dollar signs come with maintenance, and that would be something that we would take a look at, some models in the area. Again, I keep using Huntingburg's name, but they have some phenomenal things going on down there with the way that they structured the maintenance for Market Street Park, where they worked with some private benefactors who have established an endowment that will be used in perpetuity to maintain that park. So we would be exploring those options as well. But again, first, before we can really have those in-depth conversations, we need to know that the city is going to assume that leadership role and be a funding partner here.
The only thing I see on this, if it would come, if we would participate in this, a lot of the city streets downtown that gets blocked off for whatever reason for different events, it really should eliminate and maybe do away with all those where there wouldn't be no city streets closed. We could have this in this park and not, because there's about 2-3 different times, and I'm not saying I might not eliminate all of them, but there's 2 or 3 times we close streets downtown for whatever reason. I think some of these events, like Bryant mentioned, they wouldn't have to be blocked off anymore. They could be off-site, off the road. And that's one advantage to this.
I just want to make sure that, again, if it's a city park, we have rules against alcohol. So there has to be a lot of changes to make that logistically make sense for us to take it on if you're talking about Wine and Brew Fest and the treasure hunt. So, I mean.
But does it truly have to be called a park? That would be first I'm asking.
I don't know.
Or change the rule.
I think you change the rule.
That's you change it just for that location.
You could do that for like a spot,
Just make an exception.
Because we did it down there at the gazebo. I mean, they have that event down there, so I'm not sure how they did that and how they.
Well, I think the gazebo that's really not under our.
The gazebo is owned by the.
It's actually owned by them. So that's how they're doing it there.
But maintained by the city.
I mean, they did ask the city. I mean, we'd probably, the biggest participant probably, most likely. He's going to go out and we're going to touch base with a lot of other business people out there that hasn't been really addressed yet. But he's just looking for the funding source right now, and he's asking us as a city and the council if we would be interested in it. And I know there's some details to be worked out as we hear. So,
Brian, has there been soil samples done of the area and stuff, and everything seems to be coming back okay?
Yes, there has. So we have done a phase 1 and a phase 2 on the Hayes Automotive. That property is of the most concern. They both came back clean, which is positive. One thing that was noted in the phase 2 environmental, that they did not find evidence that it was formerly a fueling station, a gas station there.
Mm-hmm.
They did not find evidence that, 1, there were underground storage tanks, or 2, that they were, if they were there, that they were removed or not. So that is a disclaimer in the phase 2, and that's why, Mr. Campton, to your point, there may be some unforeseen costs there as we begin construction that we will have to address, and we'd ask for your partnership and understanding as those things do come up with construction projects.
But it's good to know that you have done the testing.
We have,
Yes.
and we've done a building decommissioning assessment for Hayes Automotive as well, and we're soliciting bids right now to have that done. This would be great.
yeah,
So,
because that building will come down no matter what.
yeah, that alone will.
It's coming down,
Washington, downtown Washington significantly.
So,
I, for one, think it's a good project. I mean, I think it would definitely help downtown and not closing all those roads, but we have to go through the grumblings every time that happens, so. I mean, I would, whatever we'd have to do, I would make a motion that we throw support behind the project. I know, I think originally we were looking at, was it 400,000?
That's what
It's a
the
total commitment.
total, yeah, and I said the only way we could do that is annual payments.
Yep.
And it's the only way we could, the city could afford to make that arrangement.
Is that your motion?
I make a motion that we commit the support to the project, as of right now, the $400,000 commitment, to be paid over multiple years.
Yeah.
Through the edit fund.
I'll second that.
Okay, Councilman Brown makes the motion, Councilman Campton seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, like I say, we've got things to work out, but, that's what we're here for tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you,
all so
thank
much
you.
for your leadership on this project. We feel it's a phenomenal opportunity for downtown Washington and certainly for Davies County. There are communities across the state and the nation that are investing in these quality of place amenities so that we can attract the workforce we need for our existing businesses and for business development, business growth, and economic development here in the community. So thank you so much, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Keep us
Appreciate it.
updated.
Will do, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've got resolutions. We got reading of resolution number 14, 2020. Can I have a motion to read this resolution, please?
So moved.
Councilman Dahl,
Second.
second by Councilman Campton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Tim?
Resolution number 14-2020, resolution authorizing application
Council.
submission and local match commitment. A resolution of the Common Council of the City of Washington, Indiana, authorizing the submittal of the COVID application to the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs and addressing related matters. Whereas the Common Council of the City of Washington, Indiana recognizes the need to stimulate growth and to maintain a sound economy within its corporate limits. And whereas the Housing and Community Development Act of 1974 as amended authorizes the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs to provide grants to local units of government to meet the housing and community development needs of low and moderate income persons. And whereas the City of Washington, Indiana has conducted or will conduct public hearings related to the COVID grant application submission to the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs, said public hearings to assess the housing, public facilities, and economic needs of its low and moderate income residents. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of Washington, Indiana that 1, the mayor is authorized to prepare and submit an application for grant funding to address COVID economic issues for the City of Washington and to execute and administer a resultant grant, including requisite general administration and project management, contracts and agreements pursuant to regulations of the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs and the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. 2, the City of Washington, Indiana hereby commits the requisite local funds in the amount of $6,250 from the City Edit Fund as matching funds for said program, such commitment to be contingent upon receipt of PFP funding from the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs, adopted this 27th day of July, 2020.
Okay. Any questions on this? Like I said before, I really think we're gonna get help on this with economic development. They did the same thing with the county, and Bryant reached out to me before and talked like you do a 50-50 fund here. If it don't work out that way, we do have the city edit fund we can pay for this out of, but I think he's gonna do the same with both entities.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Councilman Gress makes a motion to approve this resolution.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Showalter seconds it. All in favor? Oh, was it?
It's okay.
Was it all?
It's over there, I think.
Okay, Councilman Emmons, I'm sorry. I thought it was Kenny said something. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Resolution approved. Okay, now we got a reading of Resolution 15, 2020. Do I have a motion to read this resolution?
So moved.
Councilman Brown makes a motion.
Second.
Second by Councilman Dahl. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Tim?
All right, resolution number 15-2020, a resolution approving the second replat of Lot 1 in Gateway Crossing. Whereas the second replat of Lot 1 of Gateway Crossing to the City of Washington, Indiana was approved by the Washington Plan Commission on June 24, 2020, and whereas the second replat conforms to the conditions of preliminary plat approval, and whereas the second replat meets the requirements of the zoning code, and whereas the public use and interest will be served by the second replat of Lot 1 of Gateway Crossing, which is within the territorial jurisdiction of the Washington Plan Commission, and whereas the land in question is not situated in a floodplain, now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1, the Common Council authorizes the mayor and the council president to sign the second replat. 2, the second replat shall be recorded with the office of the Davies County Recorder. This resolution shall take effect upon passage, passed and adopted by the Common Council of the City of Washington, Indiana, this 27th day of July, 2020.
Okay, any questions about?
What does this relate to?
This is the Huck's property.
Okay.
This is another piece of property they bought for the back part of that development. Okay, any other questions on this resolution? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
Councilman Dahl? Councilman Brown seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay. All right, we got first ordinance. Final reading of ordinance 5-2020.
I move you read that on by title only.
Councilman Law makes a motion to read by title only.
I'll second.
Councilman Gress seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Tim?
Ordinance number 5-2020, an ordinance rezoning certain land on Eastside Park Road along the CSX railroad tracks in the city of Washington.
Okay. Do we have any questions or any any conversation on this from the council? We heard this in public hearing tonight, and
There's been a lot of discussion on it, but I also say if this is like voted down, I would like to make sure that the cul-de-sac is built. That was supposed to be built a long time ago, if there's not gonna be a road there.
So how would that happen?
Well, it's already supposed to have been done a long time ago.
No, no, I'm saying how, what would be the recourse?
He was supposed to do it a long time ago, so it's already in the.
So what would you do, Sue?
I'd find them.
Yeah, that's the recourse, yeah.
And is there any recourse to get the road built by the developer other than an agreement such as this?
No. No, the ordinance that was passed is, was after the fact.
You know, I just want to say too, I don't have a dog in this fight. That when I came councilman, like I said, I don't have an agenda. It's what's good for the city and what the people want. And right now, you're hearing the people don't want, it's not worth the road to them. I know it'd be nice to get this road built, as bribery or whatever you want to call it, but the majority of them, I have not heard one person say, yeah, I want the road, do this.
And a year and a half ago, they were in wanting the road.
Well, I know they want the road,
Yeah.
but it's not worth doing this for, and I've yet to hear anyone, say, I just want to put that out.
As a practical matter, if we don't approve this, we're relying on, one, Mr. Liger to go ahead and develop the ground and build the road as part of that. I don't know if that'll happen or not happen. Then possibility you could sell these 2 tracts to somebody to build homes on, which case there'd be no road across there at all. So, it's a gamble.
Yeah.
As whether or not the road ever goes in.
With my previous job as fire chief, I expressed the safety factor on this road. I mean, my number one goal is to get the road in there. I mean, it needs to be there for the safety of the citizens out there. We got 45 rough houses out there, and one way in, one way out.
And if the city were to build the road, the person who would benefit the most would be the developer, because then you'd have a road built that develop his property.
Yeah, and for us to do that, it'd be almost unfeasible.
And a cul-de-sac wouldn't cure the problem.
Well, it would cure the problem from an ambulance having to back out.
Yeah, well, that problem.
Yeah, it wouldn't occur, do anything with the safety of the people. They can't still one way in, one way out. That road that's going in there now is getting in bad shape. That's another thing we'll have to deal with down the road. It's
Now,
getting
that
really
doesn't
bad.
have to be the only way, though, for a road to go out. It can go out to the east.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Right now, and it's an
I mean-
industrial park, that if it was developed and stuff, the road could go that way.
yeah. And then we just don't
And
know
you'd still have
what,
an in and out.
yeah, we still don't know the future of that.
Can you get out of the subdivision without going through a building lot?
No.
To the east?
You're going, yeah,
You
There's
gotta
a
buy
road.
more property.
there's property. It's open property right now,
Yeah, it's farmland.
farmland.
To the east, but
Yeah.
to get actually out of the subdivision, the homes on the cul-de-sacs, you'd have to get across those.
True. You'd have to, yeah, I'm not sure how that,
On each cul-de-sac?
Or wherever you're gonna go, you're gonna have to get from a cul-de-sac.
depending on where you're gonna put that, yeah.
One cul-de-sac has a right of way, it looks like already in it,
Does it?
at least by the GIS it does.
But
The
it is,
south one.
it is concern. It is, that, second road is a big concern of mine. And,
I mean, and I understand the concerns I have with property values. There's been no one from the other adjoining neighborhoods give us any information one way or the other. And the neighborhood that it's in is in a transitional neighborhood, because on the east are smaller homes, trailers. To the south are smaller homes and trailers, or the existing double wide, which is catty corner across the tracks. So.
But that's your opinion.
I
Because I feel like it should be all continuation of White Ridge, because that was what the original plat showed, future building of White Ridge that way. So I don't feel that's a transition. I feel that it's a continuation of the White Ridge subdivision. But that's our opinions.
Yeah. And we're just 1/7.
Yep, that's right.
And I have put in a lot of time on this. I have talked to several people on the East Side Park Road side. Not one of them were necessarily for it. Most of them were against it. I can't name one person that was actually for it, so I did. It's my district. I put a lot of time in. I met with them on a separate occasion. There was probably 40 to 60 people there, along with Mr. Gress and Showalter, due to our restrictions. There was one family I talked to total that was willing to give and take with the road and the annexing. So, that's out of everybody that contacted me, and several, probably another 6 families or more have contacted me that weren't at that meeting. So I've pretty much covered the majority of White Ridge with this. So, just wanted to put that out there.
okay.
Well, if my wife and my grandkids were going up down that hill every day, I'd be in favor of the road. That's just me.
Mhm. Anything else? Anybody else got any?
Interest in moving it along, I move we approve it.
Well, we'll have to, this will be a voice vote, right? Yes.
You have to get a second first.
Yeah, we'll make a motion, yeah. David, Councilman Dahl makes a motion, and Councilman Gress seconds it. Okay, all in favor?
It's voice vote.
Yeah, the voice vote from there.
Councilman Lunsford,
Nay.
Councilman Brown,
Nay.
Councilman Gress,
Yes.
Councilman Campton,
Nay.
Councilman Emmons,
Nay.
Councilman Dahl,
Yes?
Councilman Showalter.
Yes.
Okay. So 4 nays, 3 ayes.
Okay. 4 nays and 3 ayes. This ordinance will be turned down. All right. Let's see. Introduction of ordinance 7-2020. Can I have a motion to introduce this ordinance?
So moved.
Councilman Brown makes a motion.
Second.
Councilman Dahl seconds it. All in favor of the reading and introducing this ordinance?
Aye.
Opposed? Tim?
Ordinance number 7-2020, an ordinance vacating a certain public way in Kinsler's addition to the city of Washington, comes now to the common council and finds it under IC 36-7-3-12. They have the responsibility and the power to vacate public ways. Wherefore, upon evidence of lack of use and minimal harm to the public and adjacent landowners, the council finds as follows: that the vacation of the alleys herein described would not hinder the growth or orderly development of the neighborhood in which the alleys are located, that the vacation would not make access to the lands of abutting landowners difficult or inconvenient, that vacation would not hinder the public's access to a church, school, or other public building or place, and the vacation would not hinder use of a public way by the neighborhood in which it is located or to which it is contiguous. The Common Council hereby ordains that the public way located within the city limit of Washington, Indiana, and with the legal description contained in Exhibit A, shall be vacated as a public way within the city of Washington, but that the city of Washington shall retain an easement which shall run on and under said property for purposes of installing and/or maintaining any public or private utilities as may be necessary. Whereas this ordinance shall be effective upon passage by the Common Council, City of Washington, Davies County, Indiana, passed and adopted by the Common Council of the City of Washington, Indiana, this 27th day of July, 2020.
Okay. Okay, this is the first reading, introduction to this. This ordinance will be read the next council meeting for its final reading and approval.
Was this do they have plans forward?
This is that alley,
I know,
tree
I know.
strips.
Yeah.
They're gonna build a parking lot.
So that's what.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
tree
That's what he
strips. Tree strips.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's been, yeah,
yeah,
he doesn't have enough there right now.
yeah. Any questions on this? Okay, like I say, this will be at our next council meeting for the final reading. Okay, we got anything else for the good of the order?
I have a question. Front and Lincoln, what's going on there? A big bump in the middle of the road there, and
Yeah.
it's been there for weeks.
That's part of the Tokine property. They're doing a air samples. They had some houses there, the air quality was
Right.
not, so this is part of the process, that when they came in there, they told Brian, that, which is not here tonight, they didn't know exactly how long this process would take. They'd be in and out of there as quick as they could, but they've been there for a while, and if you see those pipes in the ground, I'm not sure exactly the process of this whole thing, but it's all about air quality in a few houses down there. And if they get this air quality up to the normal levels, then they will. If not, they said they'd get out of there and they have to do another procedure, and there'd be another process to this.
It's rough on cars.
Yes, yes, it's just,
It's a heck of a bump.
it's confusing, it's
Yeah.
been confusing. We went down there and put some more signs and,
Yeah, the four-way stops.
barricades and stuff, and we put the, four-way stop there because we was concerned about, if not,
But I've seen went around.
They're all going around.
there's been a lot of going around it, yeah.
Dangerous too, you know.
Yeah, that's why we put that, because I could see bad things happening. We put some more signage there so people could be aware of what's going
Somebody
on.
needs to goose them and see if it can be sped up.
I
It's been like
think
that for
Brian's got the
weeks.
contact information, and I will get with him and see
All right.
what's going on and make contact with him.
I've never seen anybody down there doing anything,
No,
so.
but it's running.
Early on, I saw some,
Is it?
yeah,
It's
it's running.
Yeah.
But I seen some people down there early on, but I hadn't seen anybody down there for
Right.
last couple of
All
weeks.
right, just make sure they haven't forgotten us.
No, and I'll check into that, yeah, because it's just one of those roads that I'm up and down a lot.
And if it needs to be there much longer, they consider cutting it and burying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I got safety concerns. Yeah, I will check in that and see because I haven't talked to him personally yet, but I'll see if I can make those contacts. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none, I'm gonna call this meeting adjourned.
Yes.
Okay, not ready. Call the order of the Board of Public Works and Safety meeting, July 27, 2020. In front of you, we have approval of minutes that's been approved in the council meeting.
Move we approve them as read.
Okay, Councilman Dahl makes a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Anita seconds it. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The claims that've been presented to you.
I'll make a motion, we approve the claims as submitted.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Discussion approval of the updates of the city transit drug and alcohol policy. I know this is quite a lengthy document. They asked us, and you got there's been a few changes, and this second page is some of the changes they've made on this policy. This is something we have to do because we get federal money from transit. So we have to have a drug alcohol policy in place. And Chuck Martindale asked us to present this to the Board of Works for approval. Debbie has looked at it and went through it. She's had, I mean, she deals with this, and there's 3 different changes they've made this year in the policy, but I didn't read this whole policy word to word. You might have had, David.
I read through it. I didn't know what
Yeah.
I read, but if Chuck recommended it.
It's tough. It's tough. It's all federal mandated, and
That's what we have Chuck doing.
yes, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I looked through it, it looks fine to me.
Yeah, I glanced through it myself, but there's a lot to it.
I move we approve it.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. David makes a motion to approve it. Anita seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Anything else for the Board of Works to bring forward? Anybody in the audience got anything for the Board of Works? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'm gonna call the Board of Works meeting adjourned.
All right, what do we have to sign?